Hey, Mr. Incompetent, you really showed up at the company get-together at the headquarters? Kyle Wilson, the head of the department, sneered at me with such cynicism as I ran into him. The fact that someone as inept as I could tend a business function must have baffled Kyle. With a scornful laugh, he looked at my wife, who was standing next to me. I'm amazed that someone like you was able to get married at all. Kyle showed no mercy by snapping at my wife as well. Your wife seems just as incompetent as you. I was going to respond when my wife silently interrupted and turned to face Kyle. The indulgence rapidly faded from his face, but regrets were too late. He had always considered himself better than others, and now he was doomed. James Foster is my name. I've worked for company for nearly 20 years, and this year I turned 50. I work at the headquarters of a huge corporation that has multiple divisions. Having worked in sales and administration for years, I have a broad range of skills and am currently involved in a variety of activities in a jack-of-all-trades role. I was unexpectedly called by the president one day. Iron Smith is her name. She is an amazing woman at 45 running this big business. I was informed about a transfer to a different department when I visited the president's office. James, I know this is sudden, but I need you to transfer to the Eastwood branch, she said. The branch in Eastwood. They've reportedly been doing well lately. Yes, there are such good rumors, she said, giving great thought to what she said. Situated in the adjacent state, the Eastwood branch is the second largest branch office. Although it is well known for having significantly improved performance over the last 2 years, there has also been a report that the branch's turnover rate has gone up. There is a staffing deficit as a result. I became a little nervous upon hearing this. A high turnover rate could be a sign of a challenging workplace. However, I was forced to comply with the president's orders. I get it. I'll accept the job. Thank you. I'm glad because you were the only person I could ask for this. I moved to the Eastwood branch as a result. What I found there was a workplace that was much worse than what I had envisioned at headquarters. The atmosphere at work was awful. To put it simply, at the workplace, I was welcomed by the shouting of bosses from the moment I was assigned there. Why can't you handle even this simple task? If you're useless, just disappear. Amid the clearly exhausted expressions of the employees, only the department head, Kyle Wilson, was raising his voice. He's been the department head for the past 2 years. At 45 years old, he's a bit younger than me. His large round body resembled a mascot, but his personality was far from cute. As the president had said, the growth of this branch had been remarkable since he became the head. However, such fear was the undercurrent behind this growth, with him raising his voice like this all the time. It's no wonder many people want to leave. In fact, 2 employees had quit between the time my assignment was confirmed and my actual transfer a month later. Realizing the severity of the environment, I felt a pain in my stomach. Kyle, I apologize for interrupting your busy schedule. I've been assigned here from the headquarters starting today. My name is James Foster. I look forward to working with you. James Foster? Oh, I heard something about that. I thought they would send someone more capable. They've sent an even older guy than I imagined. Kyle laughed as he looked at me. I was irritated by his rude remarks, but I managed to smile back without showing it. What should I be responsible for here? I asked. I've been instructed by the president to take orders from you. Oh, the president mentioned my name. That's good. It means the higher-ups are starting to recognize me. Kyle said in a good mood, leaning back in his chair and pointing at me. You'll be taking care of cleaning up the company's storage. The equipment and documents are a mess, and it's been a hassle cleaning up. You mean not sales or administrative work? You look slow, man. Besides, you were transferred from headquarters at your age, right? You were discarded because you were incompetent. Kyle scoffed at me. To be outright called incompetent by someone I just met, what a man. At this point, I was beyond angry. I was dismayed. As a professional, the look on my face must have shown it, because Kyle furrowed his brow when he saw me. What's with that look? Got a complaint? No, no complaints. The headquarters sure sent a troublesome person. Incompetent. Yet you dare to make such a displeased face? If I were the president, I wouldn't just transfer you. I'd fire you. You're just a waste. His rough words straightened my spine. His loud voice resonated uncomfortably, as if crushing my insides. I apologize. I will gladly take care of the storage cleanup. By the way, where is my desk? If all you're going to do is clean the storage, you don't need a desk. Think of it as starting from the bottom. Once you're done with that, I'll prepare a desk for you, Kyle said, losing interest. He turned his back on me and started to play with his phone. He gestured with his chin for me to go quickly, and I reluctantly headed to the warehouse located a bit away from the office. The inside of the warehouse was so cluttered with company items and documents that there was barely any space to step. Why did he treat the company's property so carelessly? Am I supposed to clean all this up by myself? This was going to be tough on my not-so-young body. From day one, I felt depressed. For about a week, I did nothing but organize the warehouse. Already understaffed, I was sent here, but is there really room to be doing this? It's tough carrying dust-covered cardboard boxes, and the sheer number makes it even harder. While working with labored breathing, Kyle came to check on me every hour. Are you doing it right? What's this? You've barely made any progress. Hurry up and finish. We're paying you, so don't dawdle. I'm sorry, but this is too much for one person to handle. Besides, isn't the office short on staff? I'd like to prioritize work there if possible. Hey, are those the typical excuses of the incompetent? That must be why you couldn't do a proper job at headquarters either. Kyle glared at me and pushed me hard. I was tired and ended up sitting down hard on a stack of cardboard boxes. Let me make this clear, because you seem to be misunderstanding something. You're useless, incompetent. That's why you were discarded by headquarters. First of all, you need to understand that. Those words threw me, and my chest felt uncomfortably tight. With this kind of treatment, it's no wonder other employees wouldn't last long. I finally became the head of department. But why am I cursed with such poor employees? They quit soon, defy me, and on top of that, I'm stuck with a useless old man. Indeed, I've heard that the Eastwood branch has a high turnover rate. That's right, they're all useless, Kyle replied with an expression as if he did nothing wrong. In this company, results are everything. Perform well, and you'll get promoted, like me. If you fail to meet your quotas, you're just stealing wages. Even a child understands that. However, I think personal circumstances should be considered too. If health issues, family problems, or discomfort with tasks are factors, pursuing these issues and resolving them is also important, I believe. Well, the incompetent guy dumped by headquarters would think so, Kyle said optimistically. He clapped his hands and laughed with a creepy smile as he pointed at me. What good does it do to think about such useless people? It would bring down my own rating, and it would be better for the company to let them go. It's deluding, but all employees have families to protect, Mr. Incompetent. If you keep dreaming like this, I might have to fire you, he said with a smile, but it sent a chill down my spine. However, a manager like him can't fire employees. That's why he has to make them want to quit. Have you always done it this way? I don't mean to, but I've just been giving special attention to underperforming employees. It's a form of tough love. Hearing this, I realized Kyle was even worse than the rumors. Indeed, the high turnover rate was his fault. He probably assigned such tasks and hurled unbearable insults at others, just like he did to me. I wonder what the remaining employees think about this. By the way, I'm on a break right now, but you don't have breaks, so keep working. Even when we're talking, I can see you're trying to steal wages. Kyle intimidated me. I reluctantly got back to work. I had to keep cleaning up the warehouse despite the pain in my back from overexertion. Keep at it, and if you want to quit, just say so. There are plenty of others to take your place. In such conditions, even I couldn't last long without breaking down mentally and physically. Yet, I clung on and endured. 3 months of hellish days passed. 3 months after my transfer, I received a call from headquarters. It was an invitation to a social gathering. A few times a year, representatives from each branch are invited to share appreciation and future policies over a meal, and it seems that this month was the time for it. It seems Kyle was also invited, and he called me over. It makes sense for me to be invited to the social gathering, but you being invited is quite out of place. I'm genuinely honored to be invited, I said. Maybe the president will personally announce your firing. Since you've come here, you haven't achieved anything. Not that I could achieve much. Kyle only had me organized in the warehouse. Probably. The reports to headquarters label me as an incompetent who fails to meet quotas. Lately, thanks to the pressure I've been putting on my employees, our sales have been growing nicely. Maybe the president will recognize me at this gathering. As Kyle said, it's not uncommon for promotions to be announced at such gatherings. It wasn't unreasonable for him to dream of such things, but if the president were to witness the situation, she wouldn't approve. Our president isn't foolish enough to value someone who doesn't care for their employees. That's right, James. You should endorse me to the president. You're from headquarters, so she might believe you. You want me to support your promotion? I asked. That's right. If you do, I'll forgive you for being a salary thief. So far, it's a good deal for you, isn't it? Kyle clapped his hands as if he'd come up with a brilliant idea. I'm making use of an incompetent like you. Be grateful. I was so dumbfounded I could only respond mechanically. But are you really going to the gathering? James, of course I am. It's an honor. If I were in your shoes, I'd honestly find hard to go, Kyle said, shaking his head. Being incompetent and going there would just make me look miserable compared to everyone else. Any sane person would decline. But you're really something. He said this with utmost sarcasm and a straight face, leaving me speechless. I was getting tired of this dutiful conversation. As expected of someone who's been a salary employee for 3 months, Kyle said, none of the employees who quit before were as stubborn as you. Is that so? I'm ashamed, Kyle added. Yeah, really shameful. If you ever feel like declining, just tell me. I'll make sure to report it to our executives. With those words, I was finally free from Kyle. It must have been the most wasteful time of these 3 months. I went back to the warehouse and resumed the work, the organizational task I had been continuously working on. It still seemed to have no end. The people who had quit before me probably saw the same scene in this warehouse. Along with documents and dust, I felt the frustrations of my predecessors linger. Everyone just wait. I'll clean up that big mess for sure, I thought. With my morale faltering, I lifted another cardboard box. As the social gathering approached, I vowed in my heart to definitely hold Kyle accountable. A month had passed since the invitation to the social gathering, and the day finally arrived. Typically, transportation costs are covered by headquarters, so people invited from each branch usually come together. Kyle had told me to meet him on site and pay for my travel expenses out of my salary. I'm going ahead, he added. What? I hadn't heard about this. Usually, travel expenses are covered by headquarters, right? Your share of the travel expenses is already used up. If you don't want to pay out of pocket, you don't have to come. He seems to have used the travel expenses for 2 people to book his seat on the express train. I hurriedly bought myself a ticket for a later express train and headed to headquarters for the first time in 4 months. It was only a 4-month period, but emotionally, it felt like years. Even the slight changes in the cityscape refreshed my spirits. I arrived at headquarters just in time for the start of the social gathering after catching a taxi from the station. After checking in, I called my wife. The gathering actually encouraged family accompaniment. The company, according to the president's philosophy, must also protect the employees' families. For me, station alone, seeing my wife was a most anticipated joy. I was so excited the night before that I had trouble sleeping. My wife was also running late, but she texted me that she would be there soon. While waiting for her at the entrance of the coffee, Kyle appeared, his face slightly flushed from alcohol. Hey, Mr. Incompetent, you're really here? His annoying taunt immediately dampened my spirits. Yes, I was invited after all. Then why are you standing out here? Let me guess, you're too embarrassed to go inside, right? Being the discarded one and all. That's not it. I'm waiting for someone, I said. Kyle scoffed disbelievingly and laughed, then turned to head back inside. Just then, I spotted a woman rushing toward me. Even from a distance, I knew immediately it was my wife. Standing next to her in her neat suit, my crumpled suit became embarrassingly noticeable. It's been a while. Have you been okay? Yes, we've kept in touch. So I wasn't too lonely, but haven't you lost some weight? Yeah, I've been doing a lot of physical work, I said, as my wife smoothed out the wrinkles in my suit and adjusted my tie. Kyle, having overheard our conversation, turned back and approached us again. What's this? You were meeting a woman? And here I thought an old guy like you wouldn't be up to much. Did you find a mistress at the headquarters or something? My wife, adjusting my tie, held her back to him. From my angle, I could see her eyebrows twitch in annoyance. Please stop that. This is my wife. It's not strange for her to be here since family members are also invited to the gathering. It's surprising that an incompetent guy like you even has a wife. I just assumed you were a charmless middle-aged bachelor. His voice, louder from the alcohol, carried over the laughter. While I was used to his taunts, the people from headquarters looked our way, visibly uneasy. The unwanted attention wasn't just because Kyle was being loud. Yet, in his drunken state, he seemed unaware of the stir he was causing. I'm surprised someone like you could even get married. Your wife seems as incompetent as you are. Please don't speak ill of my wife. I won't stay silent about it, even if you are my boss. Oh, scary. Normally, you just obey orders quietly, but you act tough in front of your wife. I get it. You're usually miserable, Kyle said, then checked his watch and began psyching himself up by lightly slapping his cheek. All right, the president will be here soon. I need to get serious. I've got to brown nose as much as I can today to make a case for working at headquarters. That's when my wife, Irene, finally spoke up, slowly. Shouldn't you choose your word more carefully? Kyle sneered. Then what are you talking about? Keep quiet, outsider. You just came here for a free meal. At that, I turned to face Kyle. The air seemed to freeze for a moment. Then Kyle's face, which had been flushed, turned pale quickly. I apologize for the late introduction. I am Ironsmith, his wife, and also the president's president, she said. Kyle, now utterly silent and subdued, was stared down by the president. He shrank as if a snake had glared at him. But both of your last names are different. My wife hasn't changed her name for work reasons. We have different last names. For an executive, changing your name means rewriting countless contracts, which is exhausting just to think about. But thanks to that, Kyle never suspected a thing. I'd like to hear your explanation. Why do you belittle your employees to such an extent? No, this is different. It may feel a bit extreme, but this is how we communicate, right, James? Kyle desperately looked to me for support, but there was no way I was going to offend him. No, I've told you many times. I dislike it. Similar treatment has been given to other employees, and it's the reason for the high turnover rate. Jesus, you're betraying me. Kyle ground his teeth so hard, it was almost audible. James, you've had a tough time. You don't need to act anymore, Irene said, her tone calm but firm. Is that so? I asked, feeling a weight lifting from my shoulders. Yes, it's been quite long indeed. Finally, I could face Kyle squarely without the weight on my shoulders. Your behavior has been reported to the president all along. It's futile to pretend now. Kyle, sweating profusely, could never have imagined this day would come. Now, everything he had built was beginning to crumble. In fact, I wasn't transferred to the Eastwood branch just because of a staffing shortage. The real purpose was to investigate the causes of the unusually high turnover rate. As an investigator, I was dispatched there. I didn't want to be called a spy by someone who had been insulting me since we first met. I added, you seem to enjoy pushing employees you dislike to the sidelines and pressuring them. That's nonsense. You shouldn't listen to this man. For the past 4 months, he has failed to meet his quotas even once. He's a failure, Kyle spat. That's because you only had James handling warehouse organization, isn't it? I countered. He didn't even have a desk. We have all the photos and audio recordings as data, so I believe we have credible information, Irene said. Just as the president said, Kyle's statements and actions have been secretly recorded, and I have been sending these as evidence to the president. I don't consider everything he said as abuse. Sometimes harsh words might be necessary, but there must always be a foundation of affection. It's because of love that such actions are called tough love. What was just whipping? It was nothing more than an attack that only caused suffering, Irene continued. Employees should be cherished. I am considering a grave punishment for your actions that have gone against the company's philosophy. Be prepared. Wait, please. I have one thing I want to explain, Kyle cornered, clinging to the president. Maybe I was too harsh on James. I admit that, and I'm reflecting on it. But I did not do that to other employees who left. Please believe me. Kyle was desperate to reduce his punishment. He thought he could hide his mistreatment of others. I thought he would try to escape responsibility like this. I said, we have already found evidence to the contrary. Evidence? Kyle gasped. You shouldn't have had time for that. It was in that warehouse you pushed me into. You're the same other employees who left, didn't you? During an endless task of organizing the warehouse, I found an old notebook filled with various handwriting detailing the abuse received from Kyle. Those pushed into that warehouse tried to leave some evidence. The content was almost the same as what happened to me, and it was filled like communal diary. It's terrifying to think how many people suffered, I said. I've already sent the diary left by the employees who quit to the president for review. The feelings of those we couldn't save have been properly communicated. You can't run away anymore. Kyle's face contorted as he pleaded. I just wanted to succeed and get promoted to headquarters. I'll change my ways and go back to basics. Please, just don't fire me. How could someone who has made so many quit have the cheek to talk like that? The president smirked. Going back to basics, isn't it? There's no lie in your words, right? Yes, from now on, I'll live honestly. Then, let's not fire you. Instead, we'll transfer you to a department that suits you. There, you can properly learn the basics. Thank you, Kyle said repeatedly, his words almost losing meaning as he desperately tried to keep his job. Watching him, I couldn't shake the feelings of frustration. I thought of all the lives he disrupted, making it hard for me to stay still. Yet, I hadn't realized the president's true intention. The decision to transfer him instead of firing him wasn't out of mercy, but a real punishment. Later on, Kyle was transferred to a department removed from headquarters, located in a picturesque rural setting. The landscape, filled with expansive fields as far as the eye could see, somehow brought peace to my mind. This area allowed for a large factory due to its ample land, and Kyle was currently working there. 6 months after his transfer, I went to inspect the department to see how he was doing. This factory, unlike the Eastwood branch, was solely focused on manufacturing, with most employees doing physical labor. For Kyle, who had become rather corpulent, it was a perfect environment. About 6 months ago, Kyle Wilson transferred here. Do you know where he is? I asked an employee, who then guided me to him. The man waiting for me had significantly slimmed down, a frail version of his former self. Kyle, once quite plump, had become gone from the past 6 months of hard work. You look unrecognizable. How's the job treating you? You're James, right? Kyle, recognized me, glared momentarily, but his words faltered. I came to check on you while inspecting the factory. Supervisors are busy, right? It's all your fault. My body aches every day. Indeed, as I approached, the smell of a medicated compress was stronger than that of sweat. His body seemed to be screaming from the unfamiliar physical labor. Just because I put you in charge of a warehouse job doesn't mean you're going to put me through this poor environment. This is too much. No matter what, the work here may be tough, but unlike me, it's not forced. Everyone does the same job. Also, you aren't being verbally abused by anyone here. The department you were in before was in a worse environment than this. I countered strongly, but I reflected enough. Please, transfer me back to my old department. I can't fully utilize my strengths here. I could contribute much more to the company. You're quite confident, I said, but before Kyle could react, I added, actually, the president mentioned something to me. Kyle's eyes narrowed. What? The president said, based on my judgment, if you truly reflected, then considering a transfer back to the Eastwood branch might be possible. Kyle's face lit up. Wow. Then you'll tell the president right away, right? I'm reflecting. Okay, but there's one condition you need to meet before I can judge that. What's that? You don't ask to be sent back home. Kyle blinked, confused. What does that mean? If you were truly reflecting, an apology would come first. But instead, you complained and begged to be sent back. Therefore, you'll continue working here for another 6 months. The president had even given such a man a chance. Honestly, I thought he could be fired, but part of me still wanted him to have a chance. Despite everything, he was still an employee, and I want to take care of him. It's my own selfish wish. But could you give him a chance? I asked, looking at the president. You're kind, aren't you? Kyle remarked, looking at me. Do the other employees agree? I'll make sure to properly punish where it's due, I said. Don't worry about that. The punishment involved more than just this assignment. By the way, starting this month, we're providing a stipend to those you drove to resignation. It seems some of them suffered mental health issues or had to move, so it's kind of compensation. We should just forget about those weaklings who left. What's this kindness about? Be kind to me too, Kyle demanded. By the way, that money will be deducted from your salary, so you might want to cut back on your spending starting next month. What? You're deducting it from my salary? How much are you taking? Kyle seemed ready to explode. I haven't been told the amount, but I think it's about $50,000 in total. How merciless. I have a life to live too. Kyle shouted. Those you pushed out had their lives and families too. Consider it karma and accept it. It'll be interesting to see how long Kyle's deductions last. Just then, the factory clock chimed. It was a signal for work to resume. I can't stand this. I don't want to work if I'm not getting paid. Please, I'll do anything to get help. Kyle whined, but was grabbed by the foreman and dragged away. In a daze, I wondered if it reflected by the next time I visited. With that thought, I left the factory. Ultimately, a month after my inspection, Kyle left the factory. The amount deducted was apparently more than he expected, but from what I saw, it was within reasonable limits. Rumor has it that with few entertainment in the countryside, he spent his weekends gambling on machines and horse races, accumulating debt. Believing he couldn't repay it with his current earnings, he resigned to make a fresh start. But at his age, late 40s, no company would take him, and he was rejected at every job application. Now, he's juggling part-time jobs just to get by. In the end, carrying the $50,000 compensation to the company and his own accumulated debts, he's set for a life of hardship. Such a pity for a man who squandered his chance at redemption. As for me, I'm still working at the headquarters, right beside my wife, the president. Assisting others in this way suits my nature, and I'm content with my current life. Sorry to burden you with the unpleasant tasks, but your support allows me to delegate important duties with peace of mind. Being appreciated like this is all the motivation I need. Let me continue to support you by your side. Our relationship isn't one of looking down on each other just because it's between a president and an employee. We see each other as equals beyond our positions. Naturally, building such relationships with other employees is my current goal. A company with strong connections like this is sure to survive. With this in mind, I'm motivated to keep striving today to make everyone's workplace a secure one.